Kick-ass tips and advice for coaches aspiring to develop a winning culture.
Hello everyone, this is Greg Hofer with Next Level Coaches, and I'm proud to bring in the head basketball coach, the men's basketball coach for Northern Arizona University. Shane Burcar has been kind enough to join us today as we talk about some mental training and different things and principles that he uses with his Division I basketball program. And Shane, thanks for joining us here today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah, it's great to be here. So what I want to do is kind of talk about, I know you were a very successful high school coach, now the head coach of a D1 men's basketball program, and I want to talk to you, as you get into the recruiting aspect. I want to start there, with the type of athletes. High school, you're kind of playing the hand you're dealt. In college, you can kind of go out and pick the people that you want playing for you. So when you're recruiting somebody, beyond the measurables and the talent, what are some of the things that you look for in a player that you're recruiting?
So the type of kid we're looking at, number one, is, are they competitive? And how do you define competitive, right? I mean, it's a wide range of things you could define it as, but competitive. And what I really look for is their mannerisms. Win or lose, how are they talking to their teammates? Are they coachable? I usually like to sit behind their bench, not right behind their bench, but 10 to 15 rows up and kind of see their mannerisms through the game. And then the other thing I look for is their academics. If there's a kid that, from being my experience with high school, is if their GPA is not very good, it usually is their freshman year. Maybe the first semester of their sophomore year. But again, if there's a kid who does not have good grades, we're going to stop recruiting them. We have done that several times. Nothing against them, it's not going to work for us. But if they have a lower GPA and that GPA was affected by their freshman or sophomore year and their junior year is good, then we'll recruit them. Like, okay, they're self-motivated. So I would say the competitiveness of a kid, the way we define it, and in toughness. It's just not going to work to be successful without a tough player. And this is how we're going to play, and I think that we've had success with that, and I can confidently say that we've won more games with those type of kids over talent.
When I say a kid is coachable, what does that mean to you?
Well, I think, it's kind of a funny term, but don't be a locker room lawyer. A coachable kid is somebody who you can coach and you can get on and you can talk to them in a different way. And when I say talk to them in a different way, I'm not saying degrading. I don't even have that in me to degrade a student athlete, but someone who you can really challenge and coach, and you don't have to put your white gloves on and be concerned about his feelings. But I don't think you can do that day one. I think you have to build that relationship. Now with recruiting now, high school is a little bit different because I knew those kids when they were little kids because we ran a camp. These guys that we recruit now, is you get to build that relationship. It's a little bit different than you're recruiting a kid. You're not showing everything because then when he gets on campus, it's a little bit different. But are they coachable? You don't have to worry about their feelings and them bad mouthing and being locker room liars. So, and can they take the film to the floor? What I mean by that is, are they listening when we're in film, and can you tell that they're students of the game?
Now you talk about trust, and obviously that's extremely important. How do you go about building that trust between the player and coach relationship?
And spend time with your players. And I don't know if I'm very good at a lot of things, but I think I'm good at spending time with our players. And when we spend time together, it's not necessarily basketball. We're talking about life. We're out hanging out too. We might be watching a sporting event, having dinner together. But to build that relationship and trust, I think, one of the gifts that I think a coach can have is obviously you have to know your subject, meaning in my case, basketball. But I think the other thing is that I genuinely care for people, and just building that daily trust with them. And I just told them today, it's funny you asked that question. We had film this morning, and I said, if we don't have trust in our relationship, we really don't have anything.
Along those lines, when you have, say, under your watch here, 12 to 15 different kids, how do you get them all to focus on the same goal?
Yeah, that's a challenge. That is a challenge. No different than any other level, they all want to start, they all want to play. Well, that's a great part, back to the competitiveness, toughness. But I think every kid still wants to be successful. I think every kid still wants that discipline. I think they want to be successful, and if they trust you and when they trust you that you care for them and you're doing it for the betterment of the team, and you communicate that over and over and over again, and you hold the other players accountable. If your best player is late, you have a problem, number one. But let's stay on the topic here, is we don't want those guys. I don't think any coach wants those guys. But is this, when you're building a team, it's a daily deal. And I don't mean to use the word the process, because that's overkill right now. So we have shirts right now daily. Like, what can we control today?
And along that line, as an athlete, you're going to have failure. You know, grit is an extremely important thing in an athlete. When you see the resiliency of a kid, the grit that they have, what does that mean to you, the word grit?
Yeah, well, grit, that's kind of a buzzword now too, isn't it? I know there's a very popular book out there. But I think it's somebody, give me a group of young men who can deal with adversity, you know, and handle it correctly. Like, there's going to be situations where, you know what, you might not do good on an exam. Okay, you still have the whole semester. How are you going to prepare for that? There might be a game when you get down 10 points. You know, the prime example is we played at University of Arizona a couple nights ago, and it didn't go our way. But the thing that I really respected of our guys is that they didn't give up. There was no bad mannerisms, and that's a true grit game. Like, it's easy if we're winning by a lot and giving high fives and celebrating. But those are the guys that you're going to be successful with over the long run. So grit means to me is that no matter the situation, you're still battling it. And another one too is, like, a lot of basketball players don't want to lift weights. Well, that's part of being successful. Early morning workouts. That's the grit and the fun of it. Like, we always talk about having fun. Grit is fun to me.
One last question, I'll get you out of here on this, because I think you have a great story. So you're at Mesa, you're winning games, you know, driver's ed teacher, all that kind of good stuff, and now you're here at a D1 program. So you were in a very nice comfort zone. When you get kids out of that comfort zone and challenge them, you know, what were some of the things that you looked at, you know, in your, you know, personally, in terms of leaving a comfort zone that you had at Mesa and coming here to Northern Arizona?
Yeah, you know, I always wanted to be a Division I head coach. I mean, you and I were college roommates at Gogeeba Community College. Now, that's been my goal for a long time. But as you get older, you know, with a wife and 4 kids, and loved my job at Mesa High School, thought I'd be there forever, right? I mean, I was 45 when I left, but I was there for 12. And I think the end result was I had an opportunity. I didn't really pursue opportunities, but I had an opportunity by Coach Murphy, Jack Murphy, who was a great friend of mine. And I went back and forth on it, but the bottom line, at the end of the day, the decision was, I need to get out of my comfort zone, and I don't want to be 60 years old and say I didn't go for it. And it was a hard decision, and I think also for my 4 kids, people who I'm leading, people who have led in the past as far as student athletes or even students teaching driver's ed, is you always talk about be a dreamer, go for it. And I always thought that if I didn't go for it, it would have always been like an oxymoron. Why am I talking to everybody about this? But I didn't want to be afraid, and I went for it, came up as an assistant, and, you know, 9 months later, I'm the head coach.
Take your coaching to the next level.